Feel free to say what you want in the comments, as long as it's nice, because
I hate critics!
Here are 19 reasons to watch the TV movie of Desperation. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dave Musson, at Dave Musson on Instagram, and this is the place where I talk to you about all things Stephen King. Do check out the links in the description to my recent collection of short stories, my newsletter, and of course, my range of Stephen King themed band shirts, where you can get quite a few at the moment, including this rather lovely Run DMC Misery crossover. Do check those out and pick up anything that tickles your fancy. So we finally made it into the second half of the Norps with the 2006 TV movie of Desperation, an adaptation of the 1996 novel by Stephen King of the same name. So this one was directed by Mick Garris, screenplay was by King himself, starred a bunch of people including Ron Perlman, Tom Skerritt, Steven Weber, Henry Thomas. So really, it's time to take a look at whether this adaptation of a weird, bold book is actually any good. Now, if you're worried about spoilers, don't be. Anything that might ruin a first-time watch, I will hide behind a spoiler alert, so at that point you can just click on the timestamp to the outro and skip to the end and not have anything ruined for you. Now, if you're wanting to watch this and you're currently in the US, you've got a range of options to rent or buy this thing. In the UK, less so at the time of recording, unless you can track down the DVD, of course. Tack. Okay, Tack, let's do this. Tack. Here are 19 reasons to watch the TV movie of Desperation. Tack. So headline reason for watching this? It's actually pretty good. And the first 20 minutes are actually pretty terrific. Ron Perlman in particular is terrifying. The tension is built wonderfully and you just do not know what's going on. Now, sure, it does go on for too long, but there are enough good sequences throughout this movie to keep you watching, even if it does go heavy on the God stuff towards the end. This one doesn't skimp on the gore either, especially for something that was made for TV. This goes harder and nastier than you might expect. This is definitely one of the stronger adaptations from Mick Garris. It sits much more closely to The Stand and The Shining miniseries than some of his other stuff. And why it works? Because it takes the time to build atmosphere, build dread and tension, and then punctuate them with some campy, trashy bits, rather than being campy and trashy the whole time. So this was initially planned as a two-parter, and that would have made total sense and would have made it much less of a slog to get through. However, TV execs changed their mind and it was broadcast as one long piece. It's over 2 hours long and it feels it. So let's jump into the cast, because it's big and there's a lot of names to cover here. Perhaps the biggest name is Tom Skerritt, who plays the author Johnny Marinville, who is kind of one of the heroes of the piece, and Skerritt leans into this role brilliantly. He's a flawed, cynical asshole, and he just manages to stay on the right side of annoying throughout this piece. He does look old, though. I mean, I know he was old when he shot this, but I'd watched the original Alien the night before rewatching this, and man, the difference. Time, it sucks.
I hate critics!
So Steven Weber plays Steve Ames, and as always is great. I think there's an argument to be made for Steven Weber just being the perfect white leading Stephen King male character. He just nails it every time. Annabeth Gish plays Mary Jackson, and she is solid throughout and becomes more important the longer the film goes on. Get lots of screen time from her, and she is great. So Shane Habucha plays David Carver, the young boy who seemingly has a direct line to God. Now, I think he does well with what he's given here. I don't like how the character is written per se. I think it goes too heavy on the God stuff. But what this young actor had to work with, he did a good job. And is it just me, or could he have played a young Ben Stiller? So some nods to a couple of minor characters who are played by King adaptation regulars. We've got Matt Frewer as Ralph Carver, who just delivers the goods with another solid performance. And then we've got Henry Thomas as Peter Jackson, who perfectly encapsulates the terror, disorientation, and complete bamboozlement of the opening 20 minutes. But it's Ron Perlman who steals the show here as the possessed cop, Collie Entranchian. He is terrifying and utterly unhinged, and his performance will hook you in and keep you hooked for the rest of the movie.
Bit of a flake, huh? Tag.
Lastly, before spoilers, a shout out to all the animal performers in this one. So many animals, and all of them excellent. Even the snakes. And I don't like snakes. Like, really don't like sleep. Okay, from this point onwards, I'm going to be talking about differences from the book and highlighting some of my favourite moments. That might ruin a first-time watch for you, so consider this your spoiler alert. And if you want to bail at this point, just find the timestamp to the outro in the description, and I will see you at the end. Otherwise, stick around because I've got a few more reasons for you to watch this TV movie of Desperation coming right up.
Wait a minute. Peter Jackson.
I love Lord of the Rings.
So when it comes to closeness to the book, this one is pretty faithful, which is what you would expect with Mick Garris directing and Stephen King writing the teleplay. One big change I did notice was we have this idea that Johnny Marinville, when he's reminiscing of his time in Vietnam and the bomb that blew up the bar, he realizes that the guy who set the bomb was possessed by TAC, which I do not remember happening in the book at all, and feels a bit of a stretch, to be honest. Oh, and also they didn't give Cynthia Smith green and orange hair, which I was very disappointed about because that is her defining characteristic. Okay, on to some of my favourite moments. The part where Collie kills Peter is totally shocking. You just don't expect it to happen that early in the film.
In desperation, we don't care about those things much.
But my favourite moment is when Collie sneezes and covers his windscreen in blood and goo, and you realise he is not well, and those people are screwed. As for favourite lines, I actually have a few. The script is surprisingly good in this. So Collie talking about how there's no God out here, chilling.
There's no God out here, little Dave.
Cynthia Smith talking about her author preferences made me laugh.
Yeah, I pretty much stick with Dean Koontz.
And of course, there's Johnny's famous line about critics.
I hate critics.
But my favourite line is Collie again, and it's where he just slips an additional extra into the Miranda warning.
Everything you say can be held against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. I am going to kill you. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. Do you understand your rights as I have explained them to you?
Okay, on to connections to other King works and Easter eggs. Are you ready? This section is quite long. So Mick Garris, as we know by now probably, he also made Sleepwalkers, The Stand, The Shining miniseries, Quicksilver Highway, Riding the Bullet, and would later do Bag of Bones. Nicholas Pike basically scored all of those as well. And of course we've got Stephen King doing the screenplay here, and he's done the screenplay for a couple of other Garris adaptations as well. Ron Perlman was also in Sleepwalkers. Steven Weber was also in The Shining miniseries and an episode of Nightmares and Dreamscapes, and also later recorded the It audiobook. Matt Frewer is basically in every Mick Garris adaptation. Henry Thomas was later in Dr. Sleep, in Gerald's Game, and an episode of Nightmares and Dreamscapes. And Tom Skerritt was in The Dead Zone, both the movie and the terrible TV series.
I hate critics.
As for Easter eggs, Johnny Marinville's bike is red and white, like Christine. And did you notice the numbers on Collie's license registration plate? Yep. Add all of those digits up, 14752, and you get 19. So lastly, something random. Like, you remember that bit in Wayne's World 2, where Wayne and Del Preston are sharing their experiences of the dream with the Native American person, and Del was like, wasn't it a bit unnecessary to see the crack in the native person's bottom? Well, bear that in mind when I say, wasn't it a trifle unnecessary to see Tom Skerritt's nipple towards the end of the movie?
You're Peter. You're Mary. So where's Paul? I mean, how can you sing Puff the Magic Dragon without Paul?
There we go, 19 reasons to watch Desperation. Better than you might remember, or better than you would expect, is my guess how you might be feeling at this point once you've watched it. Do check out the links in the description for loads of things going on, including to pick up your t-shirt, of course. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already and you feel like it. Tell a friend, all of those kind of things. We really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. And join me next time because I'm going back to something that I've been really looking forward to going back to. The Nightmares and Dreamscapes TV series. I'll see you then.